Good evening there, yonder. Can you hear me? All right. I can't quite hear you. Let me unmute you. There we go. Can you hear me now? Oh, you're still muted. Let's see. Is it muted on your end? It's showing muted on my end, and I can't unmute it for you.
How's that?
There you go. Awesome. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. You're very blurry.
I I know. Unfortunately, I don't know what the heck I did. I think it's my screen protector. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not using my normal screen, so
I gotcha.
we'll try and make it all about you tonight.
Anyway, it's good to see you.
Well, welcome. Right now, if for those who were waiting on what, there she is. There's Stars. Welcome, Stars. For some reason, I'm blurry tonight.
Hi, hi.
You
Hello.
guys should not be. So, yeah, this is Stars. This is Dr. Yonder Gillahan. So we got two awesome hippie names. I feel left out tonight. But y'all, you saw. Let's see. Did I send both of you what we're talking about?
I think so. This is about the grants that are available for small farmers.
That's some of it. Yes, sir. So let me just introduce what's going on here. So y'all, this is Spencer Keck with the Hillbilly Think Tank, and we're coming at you live. I'm coming at you live from Kentucky, and I am the educated hillbilly. And no, that's not an oxymoron. Don't call me a moron. There have been educated, erudite, and emancipated rural folks since Kentucky began. Now, as I'm coming at you live from central Kentucky, where we're dedicated to the promise of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and I'm dedicated to service with honor. Nothing is better for the soul than serving our neighbors with love and care. And today I have the honor of having Dr. Yonder Gillahan from Boston College with us, and also Stars from Chicago. Both folks know how to eat local from food they grow on their own. And I'm going to let them each introduce themselves before I go into a little bit more of my spiel. So, Dr. Gillahan, since we haven't had you on before, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Yonder, and I am mainly in this capacity here a gardener. I've had a garden in Boston and in Newton for I guess about maybe 8 years. And before that, every porch that I owned was filled with planters, and all the inside surfaces that had any decent light had plants on them too. So I think that's why I'm here. Spencer mentioned that I work in Boston at Boston College. There I'm a Bible professor, and I got to be that by coming through your way, Stars. I did my degree at the University of Chicago, so I know a little bit about your area. So where are you living in Chicago, and what are you here to talk about?
Yeah. So, hi, I'm Stars. I actually am also a balcony grower in my apartment, but in addition to that, I am an urban farmer, and I rent land from a much larger urban farm organization in the city of Chicago. I do live in the city, pretty close to downtown, and the farm that I manage is about a 25-minute drive from downtown, I would say. So
Okay, so it
close.
takes about 25 minutes to get there.
Yeah. It's about, I would say it's probably about midway between Hyde Park and downtown.
Okay. So is it kind of public space?
No, it is private space. So it's public space in the sense that we do leave it open to the public areas of it, because we are a very community-oriented organization. but it is still private land. So it's not like in conjunction with the Chicago Parks District or with another big growing organization around here for the community gardens is Neighbor Space, and they do a lot of public gardens.
So you've been doing some much larger scale gardening than I have.
Yes.
I've been really happy the last couple of years to have an actual, like, enough yard facing south to grow things pretty decent. But before that, I had no experience. And actually, most of the time that I've been spending gardening has been just putting the beds in. So I would really love to hear about your experience in growing in raised beds. I assume that's, am I right that that's the kind of thing that urban gardening relies on?
Yeah, so it's about 50-50. About half of the urban gardens in Chicago used the raised beds. Raised beds can be anywhere from 5 inches off the ground to 4 feet off the ground, as you know. And then the other half just do kind of mounded rows. So not your traditional thinking industrial agriculture in which the rows are completely flat to the ground, and you're tilling channels into it necessarily, but more that you are focusing your compost, your nutrients, your cover crops, your hay, in these long mounds of, I guess we can call it safe dirt. It's non-contaminated dirt.
So it's kind of intensive, it sounds. Sounds like you're concentrating, growing into a very well-defined space and protecting it from weeds and things like that.
Yes, definitely. In terms of weeding, there's like a separation kind of between like a farmer mindset of weeds and a gardener mindset of weeds. A lot of times the organic practice is just to make sure that your plants, the ones that you want to be growing, are just more robust and outcompete the weeds. So you don't have to spend time weeding, nor do you have to use any sort of herbicides. That makes it slightly less intensive, but there is quite a bit of like, I'm out there quite a bit with my weed whacker, at least cleaning up the pathways and stuff like that.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing that?
I've been doing overall farming for about 2.5 years. Specifically in this location, this will be my second growing season.
And how much of it is your own gardening space? And like, are you working with other people to help them manage their own spaces?
So some of the time I do spend as a farm manager helping manage another farm. But then I do have a space that is my own. I make all the decisions on it. In terms of like the agricultural world, you could consider me like a tenant farmer. I supply the tools. They just supply land and water access.
Yeah. How often do you get down during the week?
I'm usually there twice a week, 3 times a week, if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
I'm usually an afternoon farm chore kind of person. My job lets me get off kind of earlier in the afternoon, so then I just go from my day job into my farming chores for the day and then head home.
And how much time do you think you put into it per week?
Farming chores usually only take anywhere from 1 to 4 hours, depending on if it's an activity that I can like pause for chunks, or if it's something like staking out stuff or laying down tarp that you really kind of have to get it nailed down in that moment. Probably per week I'm doing, if there's a farmer's market that I'm running, that's going to be probably about 20 hours of work a week. If I'm not running a farmer's market that week, it's probably more like 10.
Got it. Yeah. Do you have a well-defined sense of what you have to take care of every time that you go?
Yeah, I've got like what I consider like my farm checklist. Just like any business, I have a business plan that marks out for each month, each week, kind of what chores per produce needs to get done. And then throughout the year, I have spaced out cost for cost and what needs to be kind of upkept. So, every 6 months, the weed trimmer needs new oil. Every year, I need to wax the wood on the beds so it doesn't rot. And then anything that I notice gets added to the list of chores.
Well, that leads me to something. If you could go into the expenses a little bit more, because I got something I want to talk about on that note.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as a nonprofit, I do my best to make sure that the food is as cheap as possible, but I also make sure it's a part of the mission and vision to keep it nutritious, which means using sustainable organic practices. And I usually go above and beyond, and that definitely does come with a cost. So further costs could be any sort of repair and maintenance on tools and things. That's going to run you probably at least $800 a year minimum. If you're looking at something like you have a small tractor maintenance, that's going to run you probably like 1,000 a year, you know, keeping that running. And then in terms of cover cropping and doing good soil health, you never really recoup the costs visibly in your bank account from cover cropping, but you do recoup them nutritionally wise and longevity wise in terms of you can continue working the land for longer with better produce. So every year you're going to be spending, I think I spent, what did I spend on cover? I think I spent like $500 on cover crop seeds this year.
And that leads into what I wanted to talk about. If you could explain a little bit more to Yonder about what it means to regenerative farm compared to, like using all these things instead of taking the weeds out, what it actually does for the soil to not take them out.
Right. So soil and soil health is a super important aspect when it comes to growing food for yourself, for consumption, just to be a good steward of the planet. It essentially means that all of the nutrients that you are consuming is coming from the soil itself. And so you need to be able to have a way to put nutrients back into the soil so it doesn't end up with I think the biggest problem in American agriculture right now is like water erosion, topsoil loss, things like that. If you don't have good soil health and you're not using good soil practices, one flood could wipe out all your nutrition if you're not keeping it covered. So, what cover crops are is just on the off season, whether it's in late fall, early winter, early spring, you're planting nitrogen rich crops. So, crops that are taking nutrients from the air and putting them back through the roots into the soil. And how they put it back into the soil is they absorb it into themselves. Normally, what we would do is we would then like harvest crops, but instead, what you do is you either cut them or crimp them so that they can decompose in situ. So, right where they are, adding all the nutrients that they gathered throughout their lifetime back into the soil to give you that good, nutritious soil once again to grow on.
And so the reason y'all want you to talk about that is because most of us know that the food we eat shipped at least 1,500 miles before it gets to our grocery store. Currently, with the skyrocketing cost of diesel, there's just no way that food prices are coming down soon. And the trucks that ship our food 1,500 miles or more, they can't do that cheaply. So all the farmers, they're not going to be able to fill their tanks on their farm or their implements and run them during the spring planting season. And there are so many folks making a killing off of oil prices. Of course, that's the Epstein class. But you and I are going to pay more at the store if that's where we go to get our groceries. But they're going to keep on reaping higher profits from the global petroleum supply as oil has hit $116 a barrel. And there's no end in sight to this war that's driving those costs up. But there is a regenerative farming, money that's 700 million that we can all tap into. Even those of us that are growing money, stuff at our house, we can get into this money supply in order to expand our operations and actually be able to help out our community. Either sell to it or give it away to it, whatever you choose to do as a nonprofit. What do you guys think about that?
I always love to hear that there is more money in conservation and regenerative farming.
So let's look real quick at how much money is being made off of this war. If you don't mind taking a little trip down video lane for me.
The 1% is getting richer because of the war on Iran.
If you are that rich, chances are you're invested in these oil and gas stocks that are now going through the roof.
Gregor Semenyuk is a professor of economics who studied what happened to wealth in the US after the Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022. He says the same thing is happening now.
The US saw the biggest increase in the volume of profits in oil and gas, and thereby made the biggest profits of any country on earth. When we see who the shareholders are, we saw that about half of all the profits went to the richest 1% of US Americans. And when you look at the top 10% of wealth holders, it's actually 84% of all profits that are distributed amongst them.
What's worse is while the rich get richer, the prices of everyday things spike for everyone else. Gregor says people are being affected by something called cost-push inflation. Basically, since the prices of raw materials, in this case oil or gas or fertilizer, go up, those increases are passed down to the consumer.
You need energy to have a warm home. You need energy to have light. You need energy to get around. And so if you are relatively poor and you spend half of your money on fuel for heating, electricity for lighting, and then rent and food, all of these things have a massive price increase, then you're experiencing a high rate of inflation. But if you're quite rich, you're more shielded when inflation is the highest in the essentials.
And here,
so what do you guys think about that?
It sounds like things are about to get much more expensive.
Yeah, and I was talking to a farmer here in the county, and he was telling me that he can't go fill up his tractor with the diesel that he needs. It's so exorbitant. And also because the Strait of Hormuz is shut down, so much of the urea and nitrogen that they use to make fertilizer is not being shipped. So right now, farmers are looking at, they don't have fuel for their tractors at a price that is actually affordable, but they're still got to fill it up. So they're gonna be going to the red with that. Then they're not going to have the fertilizer that they've been using for this, what I'll call industrial agriculture. So a lot of the farmers, he said, are going to have to plant without the fertilizer this year. So that's going to be hitting farmers hard. And I hope that they can realize, hey, right now, there is a way out. And one of those ways is to make America healthy again, has come up with a plan, this $700 million for farmers to go into regenerative farming. But to do that, it would take a whole commitment to actually restructuring the way farming's been done since, post World War II. And it's to this regenerative farming type we're talking about. Conservation is a key in this, cover crops, making sure the soil's not washing away by using cover crops, not treating everything as a weed, not doing monoculture. What have you heard about that, Yonder?
Well, that's awesome. I was going to ask you, with that crisis in those fertilizers, is the kind of alternative that we're talking about available at scale?
Yeah, and that's the thing. So I was asking, the farmer, will he be able to just go, grab a bunch of manure and spread it out instead of the fertilizer? And said there's just right now there's not enough to that. He's doing it for his own personal garden. So it's interesting that, for the food that he eats personally, he's doing just what we're talking about.
They
So
take some manure from Washington.
yeah. So, also Trump is weighing on seizing all that Iran oil hub, but that move was going to require U.S. troop presence amid the war in Iran that President Donald Trump says he's weighing whether to seize Karg Island because, he says he wants to take the oil in Iran. But in an interview in the Financial Times, Trump's also comparing the idea that the United States taking control of Venezuela's oil industry earlier this year, saying the U.S. could hold it indefinitely. Well, Karg Island handles about 90% of Iran's oil exports and is a crucial hub for the country. But Trump also said controlling the island would mean keeping U.S. troops there for some time. Now, if you go just the opposite of that choke point, there's another choke point. Go over to Yemen. The Yemen, that's where the Houthis are. The Houthis are backed and financed by Iran. So they're one of the big allies of Iran. And they actually, in the past, if you don't remember, a few years back, they flew some of their, I'll call them terrorists, onto an oil ship, landed them just like, U.S. Special Forces do all the time, took over the oil ship, and that actually hurt, and we're still feeling the effects of them doing that years ago. So now they're at the choke point for Saudi Arabian oil, leaving Saudi Arabia, going past Yemen. Saudi Arabia and Yemen, mortal enemies. You're talking about, Sufis. I'm not Sufis. I apologize to the Sufis. We're talking about the Sunnis and the Shias, right? Fighting each other. So the Sunnis being, of course, Saudi Arabia, and the Shias being Iran and the Houthis. So they're entering the war. They've got missiles that they've already lobbed at Israel. We're looking at this going on for quite a bit. And this is truly dangerous for the U.S. troops that could be there. Any thoughts on that?
Boy, the sooner it stops, the better. And it was really foolish to start in the first place.
Yeah.
It seems to me like Joe Kent has said it, he's kind of described what went into it from the perspective of an insider. Everybody on our side was saying it's not a good idea, and my goodness, the consequences for the global economy are they're impossible to underestimate.
Well, I want folks to actually be able to see what it is that we're considering. So let's look at this real quick. So I won't, belabor the point, but that island, say we do take it over with the 50,000 troops there, they will be continuously bombarded, not by bombs, but by flying mines. So we've got mines in the water, which terrified me when we almost hit 14 of them with my ship during the first Gulf War in that same area. It's terrifying to when floating mines come that close to you, and they came within 10, 14 feet of us. I remember one day during the war, first Persian Gulf War, when we had to go to battle stations 3 times in one day. That's hours long, locking down the hatches, turning off the air conditioning, putting on gas masks. It's terribly hot. It's terrifying. And that night, the Tripoli, and I'm trying to think of the other ship that got hit, they were hit by mines in the dark, right after we had missed quite a few of them. Well, the Tripoli's out there again. That's the one that carries the Marines. One of the many ships that carries the Marines. They're out there right now. So you've got the threat of floating mines, and then now you have flying mines, because that's what I'm going to call drones. They only cost a few $100s. You can load them with explosives, and they've, as you've seen probably all over the Middle East right now, they're being quite effective in engaging the Israelis, the UAE, and we're at Winchester right now with our stockpile of the missiles, the millions dollars worth of missiles, one missile costing millions, that tries to shoot down these $100 flying targets. So Winchester's military term, meaning, hey, we're almost out of ammo. When I'm in a firefight with the Marines and we're down to one magazine full of bullets, and that's it. We yell Winchester. If we don't repel the enemy, we're dead. If they've got more bullets than we do. So, we've got the money for this, but we don't have the money for healthcare, for, helping farmers, really bail them out. So that's why I really want folks to look at, just hope the farmers that of my area and my region, can get onto this soon enough to not go bankrupt, because last year they lost all the money, all their soybeans basically went to rot. They didn't get to sell it to China or to Canada. And now this year we're hitting them right at planting season with another catastrophe for farmers. So in the meanwhile, another dangerous rogue nation, North Korea, demonstrated its dangerous capabilities. North Korea announced it has tested a more powerful missile engine designed for weapons that could reach the United States. So state media reported that leader Kim Jong-un oversaw the test of an upgraded solid fuel engine. Now, officials have stated that the engine generates substantially more thrust than previous versions, which is a crucial step towards developing long-range missiles. Solid fuel systems are easier to move and launch quickly, making them harder to detect than liquid fuel weapons. So what bothers me about that is that if we're focusing on Iran, and yet we've got another enemy that we've known for years actually has these nuclear weapons, and they've tested them and they're ready for use. And yet, Iran has never had a chance, thank God, to test their missiles. So they're not, if they had any nuclear capabilities, which they haven't tested them. You can't use them unless you've tested them. So we prevented that. But what are we going to do now about Korea? Because I know we plan on moving from Iran to taking over Cuba. Is Korea something we're going to leave in the back burner for it to get too hot to handle? What do you guys think?
That's far too many fronts. Oh my God.
So let's check out that front and see if it's something that we should just go ahead and ignore, maybe write them some nice letters. I know last time around, Kim Jong-un and the president, had a good pen pal campaign, and that helped everything. That solved it all.
Nuclear-capable rocket launcher system. The South Korean military confirmed the test, saying that it also detected the launch of around 10 ballistic missiles. State media in Pyongyang, KCNA, said that the test of the multiple rocket launcher system, MRLS, has been conducted under the supervision of North Korea's supreme leader, Kim Jong-un. It also said that the test involved 12,600 caliber ultra-precision multiple rocket launches and 2 artillery companies. KCNA said that the rocket struck a target at an island in the East Sea of Korea, which is located more than 360 kilometers away. In a statement, North Korea's Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un said that the missiles can strike a target within a range of 420 kilometers. Kim also praised the MRLS as a very deadly yet attractive weapon. On the other hand, South Korea's Joint Chief of Staff said that it detected multiple launches on Saturday. Seoul's
All right. So, this just all to me points back to we have got to get down with mutual aid, most of last week, all I did was highlight how regenerative farming is healthy for our soil, our water resources, and maybe most importantly, our soul. So tonight I want to emphasize that there is a $700 million regenerative pilot program to help American farmers adopt practices that improve our soil health, enhance our water quality, and it boosts long-term productivity, all while strengthening America's food and fiber supply. So getting these grants is not instantaneous for farmers. That's the catch, but it can help farmers recoup some of the loss from the last year's tariff wars and this year's Iran war, wreaking havoc on farming profits and production. So it does not help that DOGE laid off thousands of USDA workers last year, and they're the ones who always help all of our farming communities across America, get any money that comes in from the government. And these workers, of course, were needed to implement, process, and dole out incentive money from the regenerative pilot program. But the USDA Natural Resource Conservation Service, NRCS, wants to help any farmer willing to take them up on trying to adopt soil health and regenerative agricultural practices. So the regenerative pilot program directly addresses the challenges of farmers, recently reporting that 25% of their acres had water-driven erosion concerns and 16% of acres that had wind-driven erosion concerns. By cutting administrative burdens for producers, expanding access to new and beginning farmers, so that's folks like the three of us, right? And boosting yields and long-term soil resilience across operations. Now, this could mean real help for here in Hardin County for our farmers and farmers all across the USA, including your area. The regenerative pilot program also doesn't have any restrictions on the size of your farm. So it's good for micro farms and macro scale farms. Now, from what I've heard, folks that apply for it in areas like you guys are in, it's a shorter time to get the turnaround. Once you go through the application process, get a USDA representative out, because you just don't have as many farmers living where you live. So it's not hard to get representation out. Look at your operations and determine, what they could give you to actually help you come to, the scale of producing for sale. What do you guys think?
So am I right to understand that that's a MAHA program? Did I hear you say
It
that?
is. That's what I understand. It is a MAHA program. Yep.
Well, that's one thing.
Right. What's that?
I said that's one thing they're doing right.
There you go. Exactly. That's why I'm trying to, tout it up. Right. It is one thing they're doing right.
Yeah. I'm really happy to hear that money is available, and it seems like in this current circumstance, with the fertilizer prices about to spike, even if it's available, it's a timely time for those grants to be available.
Yeah, and you brought up a good thing. It's not that they're about to spike; they are spiking. If they can even get it to them, right? And then the fuel costs are going up. So yeah, it's at the right time. Let's hear them talk about it.
Today, we are launching a new Farmer First regenerative agriculture pilot program, which will invest $700 million specifically to support regenerative agriculture. We will deliver this support through existing programs our farmers already know and already trust. Protecting and improving the health of our soil is critical, not only for the future viability of farmland, to the future success of American farmers. In order to continue to be the most productive and most efficient growers in the world, we must protect our topsoil from unnecessary erosion and boost the microbiome of the soil. Today's announcement encourages these priorities while supporting farmers to transition to regenerative agriculture if they so choose. This is a Farmers First pilot program and the first of its kind. The pilot brings USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service, or NRCS. We have our incredible leaders here, Aubrey Betancourt, back to its core mission, helping people help the land through whole farm, outcome-based voluntary conservation that our producers trust. For too long, our conservation programs have been severely fragmented. This pilot replaces that fragmentation with one unified process that evaluates everything at one time. Whole farm planning is the centerpiece, ensuring that all resource concerns such as soil, water, and natural vitality are addressed together, not one piece at a time. Producers will benefit from a single application, reducing red tape and making conservation easier to access and our programs more impactful. Today,
Yeah, I can speak a little to that about specifically what those programs kind of entail. So, this bill money will be through the usual kind of two avenues. I think about a little over half the money will be supplied to the EQUIP program. That's EQUIP, EQUIP. It's an acronym. I really wish I remember what it stood for. And then a little less than half of it will be sent to the CSP. That's our conservation soil program. So how these programs used to work is they would have a whole bunch of, you could consider them like micro grants. So you would find on their list of things you could use the money for, what your specific project might be considered. You would apply for essentially that micro grant. So it sounds like they are planning to really streamline this with one application for multiple projects.
And that was one of the most exciting parts about it, because I heard that, I actually looked into people who've done it successfully, and they said it, took a while to do that and to get someone out there and then to, hear back from them. Some of that was they want to make sure you're serious, I guess. So they kind of made it, long, but hopefully they realize that they can't continue to do that for serious farmers who are about to go under. Now, before we finish up here, just wanted to give a full disclosure. Dr. Gillahan and I are first cousins, so we have a hillbilly connection. We go back to, of course, I'm Spencer Keck. My middle name is the maiden name of both of our mothers. So our Spencer families were farmers and actual chestnut tree loggers back, eons ago. And before the Hillbilly Highway came into existence and took Kentuckians out of their community to find survival jobs elsewhere, before all this industrialization took place, all of Kentucky lived and thrived off their own industrious, thrifty nature together as a community. That was, look at communal living and mutual aid at its best. In my opinion, that's what it was. We didn't need to ask back then if we could drink our own natural springs, because our own community, we all shared that spring that gave us life. And we would never poison our community back then, right? But those of us who stayed rural used to do it in part to escape the pollution and poison of big cities. But now our once pristine country springs have had poison just leach into them. And the natural sources of drinking water, man, they have been just decimated. You've maybe seen some videos of people like lighting their water sources on fire. If you haven't, let's check one out.
Howard's household off a big branch. And I've got a well behind me that's been on fire since May 1st. It actually exploded. There was a well house over this. And so Excel Mining had actually dropped this well first, exploded, and they drilled another water well about 2 feet right here. You can see it. And since then, it's actually been burnt. And this is where their drinking water comes from. It's only 2 feet over from that first well that's now burning. So you can understand how that's undrinkable and unsafe.
You're Denise Howard.
Yep.
You live at
Big Branch in Pike County.
in Pike County, Kentucky.
Yep.
So Denise, you've been having some trouble with some water here.
Oh yeah,
And can you tell me what this is?
nasty water that you don't want in you. That's what we've had to live with since May the 1st. Our well blew up. Well, the well that's burning behind us blew up. The well in front of that you see there is the water that we have been using. And in January, we started hearing it sound like explosions
Yeah.
underneath the ground.
Yeah.
We started automatically contacting people. No, it's not.
So not just stuff leaching into the water from, runoff from, say, what is the poison that's in Roundup?
Glyphosate.
Glyphosate, right? The one that the president just made sure that everyone can get as much of it as they want, much to the dismay of Make America Healthy Again, folks. Right? But, we know that's leached into water. But if you look there, I mean, that's sadly not far from where Yonder and my grandparents, live in Morgan County, Kentucky, or did live before they passed away. My mom still lives there. And our papa was actually born the next county over in Letcher County. So just a travesty, that we've done that to our rural communities. It's supposed to have been the reason you stay rural, stay clean, stay healthy. What's your guys' take on that?
Well, I'm grateful for the kind of work that STARS is doing to reverse these trends. It's sad to see that kind of thing, but I also have seen waterways that were cleaned up after being heavily polluted. So we can go back, but it's going to take work. And I'm grateful for the work that you're doing. And I'm going to have to get out of here, but it's been really nice to talk to you. Spencer, it's been great to see you again.
You too. Sorry, it's a little blurry tonight. But all right. Well, we'll let you sign out. Stars and I'll talk a little bit more, and you can check out what else we have to say.
All right. Have a good night.
You too. So, Stars, I know that I'm not a fortunate son, but I'm blessed by living in a country and a state where we believe united we stand, divided we fall. I'll stand with you against the voices that would pit us one against the other. That's not what we need right now. We know that we got to build a community. We've got to have a strong vision for my county's future. I'm sure you feel the same up there in Chicago,
Absolutely.
Our strong counties make a strong state. Now I'm going to keep on fighting for the regular folks here in Hardin County that work hard, pay their taxes, love their family, and love their neighbors as themselves. That well-adjusted stuff that, adults used to be taught to do as they were growing up, stuff that our papaws and mammas taught their parents and, or our parents. And of course, they've passed on those values to us. I know your dad passed them on to you. I'm sure your mom did too, unlike the Epstein class. What do you think?
Oh, I absolutely agree. I mean, the only way we can survive is by doing it together. And I just think the rampant wealth inequality really shows us what not working together has gotten us.
Absolutely. Before we completely go away, let's look out. We got Coffee Cats here saying, hi, everyone. She's late, but here. Tom says, also late, but here. Coffee Cats commented on that burning water. It's disgusting. Yeah, and Coffee Cats, thanks for reminding me. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And like the steam. I like that. Like and subscribe. And remember, I am running for magistrate in District 3 in Hardin County. Love to, talk to you and meet you, have you vote for me if you live in Hardin County. If not, let's look out for folks in your area that share these values, that are going to put regular folks before the Epstein class. We've got to get back to that, whether it's, at a level like mine, just countywide, government, all the way to state government, and then to your federal. But we got to start at the bottom first, restructure our communities to where they actually work for the community. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think it's super important. I probably haven't brought this up before, but I spent many of my younger years down in Tennessee. So I just think it's really important to regrow some of our really robust and strong rural communities. To see them dwindling is just so disheartening.
And you bring up something interesting. Someone was mentioned to me, tonight, that I've got this vision of our robust roots, robust communities, and be able to bridge this, rural urban divide. It doesn't need to be a divide. No one can eat without our farmers in the rural areas, and plenty of farmers, they have to, long commute every day to go to a job in the city these days just to make their farm work. So we need to all realize we are in this together, and together we can win it. So I say, here in Kentucky, we stand, divided we fall. That's our motto. We know that I really believe that and put into effect. We are our brother's keeper. We are our sister's keeper. So we're just going to keep on loving our neighbors as ourselves. And hey, bless our corazon. Remember everyone deployed overseas, please. And Stars, thank you so much for hanging out with us here again tonight.
Thanks so much for having me back.
Yeah, hang on just for a minute. And I'll be right back and say something to you, okay? So, but we'll sign off to everybody else real quick. And I did need to give a shout out. I promised to Jonathan. He said the folks in Memphis had a statement that they wanted to make. So I'll let them make that statement and then we'll completely sign off. But I'll meet you back here in behind stage in a second.
3 men arrested Saturday during a No Kings protest downtown were in court today to face arraignment for disorderly conduct and other charges.
Supporters call those arrests and tactics used by police extreme, not appropriate, and intimidation. WREG's Mike Sirianni is live tonight at 201 Poplar. And Mike, those protesters were released from jail today and had some harsh words about their experience behind bars.
Hey, good afternoon, Stephanie and Greg. Yes, Reuben Birch, Adam Nelson, and David Ram were released on their own recognizance, facing charges of disorderly conduct, resisting detention, obstructing a highway, and other charges. Now, Monday morning, the three spent little time talking about their arrest Saturday, but chose to focus on conditions they witnessed while in jail intake here, calling them dehumanizing.
We were there on Saturday as an expression of our collective will to build something better.
Adam Nelson, David Ram, and Reuben Birch surrounded by supporters Monday morning outside 201 Poplar. The trio detained in intake for 20 hours following their arrest Saturday when a No Kings protest erupted into chaos and pepper spray. Memphis Mayor Paul Young said what happened Saturday is under review.
I hate that it came to that at the end. It is something that we take very seriously. The officers will be on administrative leave while we conduct an internal investigation.
While stressing the video of Memphis police using pepper spray on protesters speaks for itself, David Ram and Reuben Birch are angry over what doesn't see the light of day at jail intake.
I feel for every single person in there who has not even had their chance to go through the justice system.
You have over 100 men downstairs right now that are not being fed properly. They're leaving the lights on 24/7.
Yep.
They're playing music on loop. They will not let you stand up to stretch. They will not let you lay down to sleep.
Regarding Saturday's incident, Memphis police said Monday there were no provisions by organizers Indivisible Memphis to close any public street for a march. State law prohibits obstructing public streets without an appropriate permit. Organizers are demanding more than excuses.
We are demanding transparency, we are demanding accountability, and we are demanding change. Not later, but now.
And back out live here now. The case involving the three was continued 30 days. We reached out to Memphis police to confirm whether there is an internal investigation going on and if indeed the officers involved Saturday are on administrative leave. We're waiting to hear back from MPD on that. Now reporting live at 201 Poplar for your news leader, Mike Suriani, WREG News Channel.
Because when the bank foreclosed on farms across